Hey folks, welcome back to another Massive video, and today we're going to talk about Xerneas and Professor Sycamore. So, Xerneas, Professor Sycamore, like I mentioned before, fantastic unit, especially being free, right? And usually I go over 1 out of 5, 2 out of 5, 3 out of 5, all that stuff, but we're just going to go for a 3 out of 5 because you get 5 out of 5 Xerneas for free, and if you don't, that's your fault. Okay. So let's start going over it, right? So Xerneas it's mainly a support. However, you can use it as a damage dealer. I know not a lot of people have a lot of solid fairy type strikers. Although there's a lot of fairy type units in the game right now that could do damage stuff like Jigglypuff, obviously, Whimsicott, Mega Altaria, Zacian, right, or on and on, Clefairy. But for those who still don't, right, she Xerneas is a solid damage dealer as well. Even though again she is a support, but she does boast that once you get her to 20 out of 20, right, once you get 20 out of 20, you have 300 special attack, right? And then you also have Fairy Power 5, which boosts your Moonblast damage by 50%, which is really good, right? And then on top of that, you got some power up nodes, but you don't have like any other multipliers per se. But it should do solid damage, right? It should do solid damage, or if you need like a bug type damage healer, you got Horn Leech as well. So, anyways, let's go over it, right? So starting off, let's actually get the damage builds out of the way because those are easier to talk about, right? So in terms of damaging, right, if you want a fairy type striker, you gotta build Moonblast, right? Since there aren't like too many offensive nodes on the grid, you could relatively easily just pick up most of the or actually all the Moonblast stuff and still have like plenty of energy left. So depending on how you want to play it, obviously you go for different things. If you're gonna use her, Xerneas still as like a main tank while you're like at it, you can maybe pick up something like recuperation over here. If you don't want to, sacrifice DPS and go for like Horn Leech or whatever, right? Or else you could, do stuff like pick up Impervious so you don't get your defenses lowered and just get blown out, right? Or if you feel like you need more, need more move gauges, you go for Revenge Boost. Although I really don't find it that much of an issue because you're like giving your whole team +6 speed, and your train move also gives move gauge acceleration as well. So I don't think it should be that big of a deal, honestly, right? But if you are finding issues with that, you could definitely go pick up Revenge Boost. But otherwise, if you just want to go, if you're not tanking with Xerneas and you just want to go like full damage, right, you could definitely go for that as well. Pick up special attack +10 over here. Got some more special attack node, power up nodes, right, and stuff that you could definitely go for. Just I guess stat nodes to do as much damage as you can, right? Which should get you some decent numbers, right? Yeah, so yeah, that's basically what you're gonna build for Moonblast. You blast 7, you could use it on like an MP refresh on this, right? So yeah, that's Moonblast. If you want to go for Horn Leech, bug type damage, again, you could go for that as well. A lot of options down here. Definitely want to pick up these, and if you are going for that, right, you could basically just use her, use Xerneas as your main tank while you're at it, right? So you want to pick up some offensive stuff like this. Attack +20 is actually pretty nice. Like it is 20 attack, so why not pick it up, right? And that will put you at, let's see, a solid amount of attack, right? And actually, unfortunately, we don't have enough to pick up the MP refresh on that. But you don't have to. I mean, right? If you don't need it, obviously you don't have to. Otherwise, you could pick up, again, just some more attack if you want, some speed here and there, or some defenses, whatever, right, with the remaining bit of energy. But yeah, that's basically what we want to do if you're building, sort of bug-type damage. All right, now getting into the more interesting stuff, which is, again, mainly Xerneas is a support, right, and fantastic one at that. So there's a lot of different ways to build Xerneas because she has, like, a lot of different things that I don't know why I keep on assigning a feminine pronoun Xerneas, even though it's generalist. But yeah, there are a lot of different ways you could approach this, right? It really just depends on what you're facing, right? If you're facing something that like has heavy stat debuffs, you want to go for impervious, right? If you're facing something that has like status, you want to pick up healing hand. You're facing, if you're using a team with lower speed, maybe revenge boost, right? Stuff like that. If you're, running with a team that that just doesn't have any good sinks, you go for recuperation for them extra heals and all that stuff. It really just depends on what you're going. Or if you're, facing, if you're facing opponents that do have relatively high special attack, and maybe go for Moonblast as well. Although most of the time, like if you do go for Moonblast on roll though, since you will be like trying to Moonblast the opponent a lot, maybe it's not like the best option for you to tank, right? Because like if you want to tank, if you want to use it as Xerneas' tank, like you could still do that because like you still have like really great defenses and HP with the gradual heal on your trainer move. But again, like most of your heals are coming from Horn Leech, right? Because you're getting a lot from Horn Leech. But anyways, talk aside, like I mentioned before, for most of your builds, you want to start with something like this, right? You want to get some Horn Leech in. Speed, special defense, it really depends on matchup, right? And after that, again, it really just depends. If you need Impervious, go for Impervious. If you need Healing Hand 2, go for Healing Hand 2. If you don't need them, you could obviously go for other stuff, right? You get MP Refresh on this, which is really nice. I mean, even if you are facing opponents that do status you could just pick up like an MP Refresh on World is Vast and hope you get an MP. Like, because World is Vast, this also cures statuses for you. So like, yeah, this is like a 10 energy kind of ordeal, right? So like you don't have to pick it up if you don't want to. If you don't, I mean, since you're mainly using Horn Leech, you don't even have to pick that up. You could save 1 energy by picking up Dazzling Gleam over here instead, right? And with the rest of your stuff, you could maybe just pick up some more like Horn Leech power-ups, because the more damage you deal with Horn Leech, the more HP you're gonna heal, right? That's how Horn Leech works. So outside of that, right, if you don't need Impervious, if the opponent doesn't really stat debuff you too much, you could again just go for some other options. You come down here, pick up Revenge Boost if you need more speed on your team. You could go for some like Moonblast, like it's gonna be weird because again you just do have to like alternate between the moves. But if the opponent is doing like that much, like you still on one hand have the gradual heals on from your trainer move, right? So like even when you are Moonblasting, you're healing. Obviously, you're not healing as much as you are with Horn Leech, but you could just Moonblast when you're not in like danger in terms of your HP. And when your HP like goes like under half or so, then you could switch over back to Horn Leech, start Horn Leeching, and then once your HP is fuller, you could switch back to Moonblast and sort of start blasting from that, right? So yeah, those are some options, right? So anyways, in terms of lucky skill, right? It really depends because there are like 2 schools of thought on this one. One is going for Crit Strike 2, one is going for Impervious. Obviously, Crit Strike 2, there are 2 uses for that, right? One is you could offensively, you could do more damage, especially if you really don't have a great Fairy type damage healer. It could help for, making Xerneas do a bit more damage. On the other hand, it also, the more damage you deal with Horn Leech means you heal more, right? So you are healing a bit more with Crit Strike 2. Although if you're just going like, if we're talking pure defensive prowess, right? Even though you heal a bit more with Horn Leech, like Vigilance is still gonna do you better defensively, right? Because no matter, like it's just only like 20% more in terms of damage, right? And then obviously you have to you have to multiply it with the regen multiplier, so it's not going to be that much. It's still going to be some, right? But saving yourself from a crit, that's obviously going to be much more huge. And I think people has like sort of like forgotten about Vigilance recently because we haven't had like a legendary arena in a while, or at least a new one, right? And usually it's the legendary arenas that throw out like the big like crits and stuff, right? So yeah, the Vigilance is definitely going to help regardless. So yeah, those are basically 2. Again, it really just depends on what you want to go for. I personally suggest Impervious a bit better. Or not Impervious, Vigilance, right? Don't pick up Impervious, you have Impervious in your grid. Vigilance is just overall better, just because, you know, it maximizes Xerneas' strengths. Even though, again, Xerneas could do some solid damage, obviously its strength is so much more like as like a fantastic tank and all that, right? Moving on, let's talk about some team comps. In terms of team comps, right? So again, Xerneas is a support. And the great thing about Xerneas is you could give your whole team +6 special defense, +6 speed, and +6 special attack, right? However, unfortunately, Xerneas doesn't give any crit at all, which is, in my opinion, one of the most important stat buffs in the game is crit, because not only are you getting a 1.5 times multiplier, it goes through opponents' defensive buffs, it goes through, you know, opponents' shields, it goes through your own, like, you know, attack, special attack debuffs, right? Like, it's crit is just incredibly overpowered in this game, right? So you definitely need a crit buffer, right? So usually here's the deal in terms of team building with Xerneas, right? You're obviously going to be using Xerneas with special damage healers, right? Because again, Xerneas increases your special attack. Obviously, you can use it with physicals. It's just more valuable to use it with special units, right? Most strikers, I wouldn't say most strikers, like a lot of strikers have crit buffs. So a lot of times you don't need another crit buffer, right? And in those cases, it's probably better just to bring like a you know, something like say Dawn, right? Pound times Dawn, you know, to decrease the opponent's special defense, so you get more damage output, or in a lot of cases, whatever your striker needs, right? Whether it's, you know, it has like paralysis synergy or whatever, right? You could give them that instead. But the reason, or not the reason, the time when you want to bring crit buffers is obviously when your striker doesn't have a crit buffer. And again, like a lot of strikers do have crit buffs. It's mainly like this combo is mainly more so for a lot of like techs that do a lot of damage, right? Stuff like a Serena, both Serenas. It could help Swamper, right, as well, stuff like that. That really needs both, again, special buffers and crit buffers, like a lot of tech damage healers, right? Which right now are basically running the whole damage meta, right? A lot of these tech units. So usually you want to throw those in, right? As for like Xerneas itself, if you want to, like, again, just use Xerneas like as like a damage healer, right? You could definitely do that. In terms of like a crit buffer, you definitely want someone that could also buff attack. So something like a Phoebe, and you don't have to worry too much about the speed because you are giving your whole team +6 speed. So the speed shouldn't be that big of an issue with Phoebe. So Phoebe to buff your physical attack, if you are, you know, using, you know, bug type Horn Leech, right? Or maybe if that's not enough, you could bring like like another, I don't know, Hilbert or something. But that would be like slightly overkill. In my opinion, like Samurott or something. Like Phoebe could give you enough attack, and plus if Phoebe doesn't give you like +6 immediately, you still have like your passive that could slow you. Obviously you cannot, and I can't stress, you cannot rely on Team Shout to like buff your like physical attack or whatever, right? Because that's gonna take forever. It's unlike Blastoise. Like Blastoise is a guaranteed buff, right? This is like 50% chance of it activating, and when it activates, it doesn't even, you know, it's random in terms of which stat it gives you, so you can't rely on that. So you definitely do need a physical buffer, right, to make it much more reliable. And then like your other option could be something like the other professor, Kukui, right? Kukui could definitely be an option over here to lower the opponent's defenses, so you do more damage, right? Or was it I think it was Mimikyu, right? Mimikyu is another option. Just, you know, some just defense debuffers should be nice. Or Nanu, if you don't have any of those, right? Nanu is still fine as well. And you should be doing some solid damage with Xerneas over here. What you can also run with Xerneas is, again, if you are, trying to use Xerneas to do some damage or bug type damage, right? You can run something like a Goliathopod, like double striker over here, right? And then you could sync with Goliathopod, build up catastrophe on Goliathopod's grid or whatever, right? You could do that. You could also are most bug types are there any other physical? Oh, I guess Luzamine has lunge, right? You could like throw like a lunge build with well, actually you don't need lunge, but like Luzamine is self-sufficient on like, okay, you go with either Bug Buzz or Lunge, which usually Bug Buzz is much better, right? But you could definitely run double Bug Striker with that. And if you're trying to use Xerneas as like a fairy type damage healer, a fantastic combo is like with Whimsicott, because not only are you giving Serena max special attack, right? You're also giving Serena max speed, and Serena has inertia, right? And the big thing about Xerneas is the sync move doesn't do damage. You're mainly, like most of the time, you're just going to be using the sync move once, and you're just not going to ever use it again, right, for the rest of the battle. And in that case, you need someone to sync and do some good sync damage, and Serena's a really good option over there, right, with the inertia, the sync nuke, and all that stuff, right? So that could be a good option. Obviously, you would definitely want another crit buffer, but Phoebe's probably not the best option over there. The best option is probably Sabrina, right? Or something. You have Sabrina. If you don't have Sabrina, Meganium could probably work. 3 out of 5 Meganium, right? Probably work as well. All the other crit buffers should be fine. Lily Bee maybe, right? Well, this is a bit. It's a lot of gauges, but then again, you're getting your whole team plus 6 speed, and none of these are like slow too. Like Serena's fast, Xerneas is fast. Elizabeth's not really fast, but it's okay, right? So a lot of options here. You could also go with Alcremie if you want, right? Where is it? Like Alcremie, because Alcremie also does like some solid damage on the sync move as well. If you don't have Whimsicott, right? Because you have this thing, and then on top of that you have where is it? Power posture to increase your damage on your dazzling gleams as well. So that could also be enough. Just like a lot of these fairy type damage healers are all fine, right? Jigglypuff, obviously. One of the biggest issues with Jigglypuff is speed, and then you could definitely fix that, right? And over here, obviously, you want to bring in Serena. Like, there's just so many different team comps and builds that you could run with Xerneas. It's really just a fantastic gift from DNA that they dropped on us. It's so many different situations you could put it in. So many different opponents that just get like crushed by Xerneas, right? So anyways, that's really this one. I guys hope you guys enjoy. Let me guys think in the comments down below. Like enjoy this video, so our channel for some more Opponent Masters content, and for the 100th time, grind this thing out. It's incredibly good. You will not regret it. Anyways, again, thank you guys. I'll see you guys in the next one.